There is a very interesting story now being reported out of the South Pole, and if you're a fan of the Antarctica videos here at the Florida Maquis channel, you're probably going to want to stop what you're doing, take a minute, grab a frosty cold beverage, sit down, and prepare to have your mind blown. Because now mainstream science has come to a certain conclusion, a conclusion that this channel came to almost half a decade ago. 2018, 2019, 4 or 5 years ago. We caught a great deal of grief for making this allegation, and now they're saying this is the case. It's going to absolutely blow your mind. You're not going to believe it. Real quick, though, just don't always say thank you to those of you who have stepped up over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel and have decided, you know what, I value the Florida Maquis. I want to see him stay on YouTube. I want to see him stay making videos about psychological operations, about Antarctica, about Venezuela, about everything. And it's worth $1 a month to me. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. I very, very much appreciate that. There is another level by request. Folks said, hey, can you just make an easy button for a $5 level? I'm like, okay, I did that. A lot of people signed up there, so there are a few videos dedicated just to those folks. I figured they'd earned it. They deserve that. It's fully refundable, though. If it's not for you, if you try it out, first 90 days, no questions asked. Comes right back at you. We can partner with Vimeo, talk about things, show things. We don't have to be so censored. We don't have to act like we're children again. We can talk like adults, and at the $5 level for sure, we can talk like, adults have to talk about things sometimes. So once again, God bless all of you. Thank you very much. Now, proven science fact. This was April 2, 2020. Remains of 90-million-year-old rainforest discovered under Antarctic ice. So it's not debatable. It's not debatable that at one time Antarctica was not frozen and that it was warm enough to have a rainforest. Now, keep that thought in mind for just 1 second. I made the allegation, and I got called crazy for it, that the story that was told in the books, The Song of Ice and Fire, more popularly over at HBO, Game of Thrones, that story might be lifted from something that's close to the truth. Because they created a map of the region where the story was told in Game of Thrones, and when you looked at it, compared to a certain part of the actual globe, it starts to look very, very familiar. Because it shows, of course, the frozen north, and it shows these kind of nice grasslands, and then some mountains, and then a southern, more desert area, and then this narrow channel, and then another area with a lot of those same traits. Well, when you look at it, this is the northern tip, of the Antarctic Peninsula, and the southern tip of South America. But strangely enough, it looks like almost as if, when you look at it on a map, like somebody has taken a thumb through frosting, giant wall of water pushed through here and separated the two. You'd have to ask, what happened to this land? What happened to this area? The Reach and the North and all these areas, Dorne. What happened to this huge chunk of land? It's very odd. I use the arrows to kind of highlight this, of how this looks so close to what they said was going on in the story. You see, the Song of Ice and Fire makes perfect sense because Antarctica is got a giant, huge ice sheet over the top of it, but beneath it, there's 90 active volcanoes. So literally, it's a land of ice and fire. My allegation was, what if at one time there was a civilization down there? And what if, because of that huge ice sheet covering everything, we just haven't gotten to finding it yet? It's 99% unexplored, and it's larger than all of Europe, larger than the United States, larger than Australia, by far. Now, you ready for this? Here's your mind-blowing moment. Climate change, the make-believe unproven theory, could trigger gigantic, deadly tsunamis from Antarctica. New study warns slippages in sediment beneath the Antarctic seabed could spawn gigantic tsunamis as oceans warm. Now, given that our planet goes through normal cycles of heating and cooling that have nothing to do with your SUV, nothing to do with anything else, it's just a natural cycle of getting warm and cold. What do we know? It was warm. and it's cold now, and it could be getting warmer again, and that could trigger gigantic, deadly tsunamis. Now, what was my crazy theory, remember? What was the crazy theory? That there was a huge tsunami that slammed into this region, and that there once was a land bridge here. And what makes that so important and why that's so critical is that Antarctica isn't frozen because it's simply at the South Pole. Antarctica is frozen because of the swirling winds around it. No warm air can reach because now the oceans drive that atmosphere. There's a current that circles Antarctica. And after that land bridge was cut, based on my theory of a tsunami that's now been proven true, that's what caused the freezing. Not simply because it's down at the South Pole. And now science is saying that this is the case. Let's read their own words. The make-believe unproven theory of climate change could unleash gigantic tsunamis in the Southern Ocean by triggering underwater landslides in Antarctica. A new study warns by drilling into sediment cores hundreds of feet beneath the seafloor, Antarctica scientists discovered that during previous periods where the Earth naturally warmed, for them 3 and 15 million years ago, before there was a single SUV on the road, loose sediment layers formed and slipped to send massive tsunami waves racing to the shores of South America, New Zealand. Pay attention, we're going to cover this. New Zealand and Southeast Asia. As the climate naturally changes and the oceans warm, the researchers think there's a possibility these tsunamis could be unleashed once more. Their findings were published 18 May of this year. Nature Communications. Now, here are the 3 videos. This is the Florida Maquis. 1 December 2019. Brand new map shows 1703 tsunami created canal.
We have a lot of...
Sorry about that. And then there's another one here. Let's go ahead and turn this off. A mysterious global tsunami originated in Antarctica. Scientific community now totally baffled. And we show this here where when you look at the globe from this particular angle, you can see, and it's the best analogy I can make. It looks like if you can think of a giant coating of blue frosting being the ocean, it looks like somebody just took a giant thumb and went right through it. And now they're saying this is the case. It looks exactly like that map. And then the final one, that was 22. This was actually only a few months ago. Billion-ton glacier. Could possibly... This is a little bit different topic, but basically the same idea. Now, if there is, possibly, under that ice, a civilization that's been around far longer than any known civilization, it's possible they could have technologies we don't know about. And they could be flying all over the place, and we wouldn't be able to do anything about it. They might not have any interest in us at all. They just might want to get around to kind of do their own thing. And they could care less about us. You see, I showed this picture about these Tic Tac craft that were harassing the Nimitz way back in 2004. And the pilots of the F-18s weren't even close. Weren't even close to being able to keep up with this thing. So what do you think the government would do? Don't you think they would probably cook up something that's a lot faster? Well, look at this. Lo and behold, on the ice in Antarctica, they probably sent down some super advanced, experimental, super fast craft to chase one of these things, and here it is setting on the ice when they turned around and shut off its electronics, like all of these craft seem to have the ability to do. Now, does that make sense? Now, I mentioned New Zealand. Oh, by the way, if you want to find a Tic Tac craft setting on the ice in Antarctica, the measurements being exactly as described by the pilots, the F-18 pilots, you can go to the Florida Maquis Antarctica playlist and you can find this. I think this is the thumbnail. You know what? I'll go ahead and I'll give you the coordinates down in the description, and you can download Google Earth Pro for yourself, and you can go find it for yourself. Because it's there, setting pristine, exactly as described by the pilots. Now, let's zoom out here real quick. In fact, you know what? Might be easier? Hold on. Let's go here. Now, tsunami would cut a giant channel, right? Just off of McMurdo, there is this very weird channel, much smaller than the one up by South America, that looks just a little bit too perfect. Like a giant, huge gusher of water came out of here and just dug a giant channel. Now, the crazy part about this is that when you zoom out on it, you know what it aims at? Right here? How many of you have heard the talk recently about the 8th submerged continent? That includes Fiji, New Caledonia, New Zealand. This whole area used to be a continent of its own. Some people have speculated that it was perhaps the land of Mu, Lemuria. And here's the crazy part about this. I don't know if I brought up a picture or not of this, but go back to Game of Thrones. Go back to Game of Thrones and look at, remember Khal Drogo and the Mother of Dragons? Doesn't he look like a Samoan? Doesn't he look like he could be one of these Tongans, these islanders? And wouldn't she, having the white hair and the look like a Lemurian? Or the tall whites, or whatever they want to call them? You see, it's just a little bit too coincidental for me that now here we are, 2023, and all of a sudden they're talking about tsunamis in Antarctica and slipping sediments on the seabed because of the change in the temperature. Well, it wouldn't matter whether it was the make-believe theory of unproven climate change or whether it was normal, natural, everyday changes in the environment that just happen on the planet just because that's the way the planet is. One way or the other, hot to cold, cold to hot is the idea here. That you could have these giant slippages in the seabed causing these huge, massive tsunamis. And that was the entire allegation that I was making about what was going on and what would have possibly caused this. That caused so many people to go, oh, this is crazy Antarctica guy. I'm not going to believe him about anything. He's nuts. Well, now you're going to have to argue with mainstream science. Because now they're saying the same thing. And once again, it doesn't matter whether you believe in climate change or not. It really doesn't, because the method is the same. Whether the melting and freezing is a natural process or whether an SUV has anything to do with it one way or the other doesn't matter. The fact is it happens. And the fact that the freezing and unfreezing of the seabeds causes these huge slippages and these tsunamis would make perfect sense. And it would explain all of this. Everything would be put together perfectly like a puzzle. So, I just wanted to cover this and let you guys know that I wish we could live longer, because I think it's probably going to take longer than we have before people wake up enough to go start exploring Antarctica in earnest. And understanding that maybe science needs to be done in a way with much more humility. And we could learn things. And our great-grandchildren, great-great-great-grandchildren, they could live in a world where they could trust science again to not be political. So, I will leave it there. God bless all of you. I very, very much appreciate it. Please, if you have the ability, if you have an extra $1 per month, I could sure use it. It's not getting any easier here on YouTube for sure. Ask the Patriot Nurse. Ask Kim Iverson. Ask a lot of people. It's really gotten bad the last few months, and every single $1 helps. So, you guys have a wonderful week. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.